Hello, my name is Stuart Tomc, former brand ambassador and global educator for Nordic Naturals and now director with Zinzino. And it's truly my honor to sit down today with Colonel Dr. Michael Lewis, author of When Brains Collide and the founder of the Brain Health Education Research Institute. He's also the primary author on the only paper published on omega-3 deficiency and military suicide. Dr. Lewis, it's an honor to sit down with you, sir.
Absolutely, Stuart. It's always a pleasure to sit with and talk with you.
Well, the main question that doctors have, and we'd love to hear from you, can you walk us through the process? What was it like for you to get comfortable with Zinzino to integrate their products and their testing into your clinical practice with your patients?
Great question. Let me back up a little bit and let you know that I've been in the omega-3 and brain health space. I'm not a neurologist, but I'm actually board certified in preventive medicine and public health. And I've been in the brain space for about 20 years when I was still active duty in the military. And I just put two and two together and came up with an odd number. And I went to the head of research at the Defense Veteran Brain Injury Center and asked the question, is anybody using omega-3s like you get from fish oil to help our soldiers recover from traumatic brain injury? And their answer was, no, why don't you? It's like, because I don't know anything about it. I'm not a neurologist. So, and he goes, but you're the only one asking the question. And that began a journey, and that was 20 years ago. And that journey, as you know, because this is how we met, was through places like Nordic Naturals, the largest fish oil manufacturer in the world.
You were the tip of the spear, as I say.
And I was on the medical advisory board, and I was with them for about 15 years. And all good things come to an end, but they really were the best products available on the retail market. And then you got introduced to Zinzino, a separate story that everybody's probably heard, but you came back from your trip to Norway and said, Mike, you got to look at this company and these products. And you and I had been working together at that point almost 20 years. So I knew if you had something that you were excited about, I was going to dig into it, support you, and look at it for myself. So what did I find? I look at a three-step process. This is how I got really involved in Zinzino. The first step was I had to prove it to myself. I've been taking fish oil, been working with Nordic Naturals and taking fish oil. I probably hadn't missed a dose in 20 years. And my last omega-3 index that I had done probably 6 or 7 years ago was 15.5.
It's the highest.
The highest,
seen.
the highest you think you've ever seen. I mean, it was off the charts high. So I must be in great shape. And but things, life changes, and things change. So I took the balance test, and my omega-3 index is only 4.8, and my omega-6 to 3 ratio is 10.1.
And your omega-3 consumption had not changed.
And my omega-3, I was still taking fish oil on a daily basis. The one thing that had changed, I wasn't exercising like I was previously 5-6 years ago, where I sort of got that personality where I exercise, I'm like totally, fanatic, and I go full on, full out, like take almost twice as long to recover from the exercise that I did because I pushed myself really hard. I wasn't doing that level of exercise anymore. And so I was shocked, 10 to 1. Who knew? So that was step number one. I started taking the BalanceOil within 3 months, actually less than 3 months, about 2 months, because I was getting too anxious. I wanted to know. I dropped from 10 to 1 to 3.5 to 1 in just about 6 weeks, actually.
Wow.
And the only thing I did different was starting to take the BalanceOil. So step number one, check that box. So if that's going to help me, why would I not use these products for my friends, my family, and my patients? So that was box number 2 I had to check. So I started to use it with patients, both in private practice, through some contract work I do in running a concussion clinic for an orthopedic clinic, and also through the Brain Health Education and Research, where we deal with military veterans struggling with the issues of traumatic brain injury and chronic concussions. And what we found was phenomenal. So it's working with patients, they're feeling better, they're improving. And so that was box number 2, check that one. And then the box number 3 is like, it took me a little while, sometimes a little slow, but if I'm helping 20, 30, 40 patients, people with these great products that I've now proven to myself and on them, what if I could teach 20 people how to help 20 people? And that
And duplicate
and
yourself.
duplicate myself. So that's the power of duplication. So now instead of helping 20 people one-on-one, doctor to patient, now I could just 20 people helping 20 people. That's 400 people. All of a sudden, the mission that I set out on 20 years ago to make a difference in the world, to change the world, and through the omega-3 deficiency issues that we face, all of a sudden that light bulb came on, check box number 3.
So, as a leading public health servant, which I thank you so much for your service, sir, as a leading public health um, expert, can you just share a few case histories, if that's okay, without mentioning names of anybody? What you've seen with some of your patients using the Zinzino protocols and the Zinzino products.
Absolutely. So I'll give 2 quick examples. One would be through our veteran population that we reach out and help. I had one guy, just 1 month on the Zinzino health protocol, had a 75% reduction in his symptom score.
Wow.
So we tracked 22 symptoms plus actually 25, a couple more. We use a standard 22 question symptom inventory plus a couple additional questions. 75% decrease in the overall symptom score. It's unheard of. And that was 1 month on the health protocol premium by Zinzino. So that was one of the reasons why he's like, all right, this is working for patients. The other one that one of my favorite stories is a Green Beret who had been deployed to Syria twice. There was a 3-month deployment, back for 6 months, and then the second 3 months. And he was firing 120 millimeter mortar rounds, but so many that it just started to mess with his brain. You think about it, you drop a round in, you turn away, and it goes boom, it explodes, and that blast wave. And 120 millimeter rounds are big rounds. And he fired in those 2 deployments over 10,000 rounds, mortar rounds. Wow. While on deployment. And, we're talking about an active combat zone. So over 10,000 rounds. By the time he finished the second deployment, he says he couldn't even put a sentence together. His brain was so scrambled, he got medically discharged, and then he found us at the Brain Health Education and Research, and we started him on the protocol, and what happened was, last year he graduated from MIT with an MBA.
Oh, wow.
So I think it did okay for him.
So you're building a team now of physicians all over the world. And for anybody that's listening to this that thinks, well, I haven't been in the military and I haven't been exposed to that. Should people be taking this protocol before they have a traumatic brain injury? I mean, how do you feel about this in terms of prevention? Do you recommend your other physician colleagues employ the Zinzino protocol and their products?
Well, again, I'm board certified in prevention and public health. And so I see this as a public health intervention. It's not just about traumatic brain injury. It's not just about concussions. We have a major issue with everything from dementia to all kinds of neurologic disease, but not just that, but all these diseases that have inflammation underlying them, including obesity and diabetes, for example. Now, I'm not saying any of these products have a direct correlation to that, but it's about getting the foundation in place so that we can live a healthier life as we get older. And so I absolutely use these products as a foundation for good health or regain your health after you've lost it.
Excellent. My last question to you. We just published a landmark paper, 590,000 samples of this dry blood spot test that you can do in the privacy of your own home or you can do in a clinic. What are your thoughts on the paper when you saw the publication? Where do you think that fits in the history of the omega-3 research?
Well, I think that it's a huge seminal paper that really, just the number itself, like over 590,000 samples. But you have to understand what Zinzino did. They had 1.5 million samples to choose from. So why did they whittle that down to 590? Because they were being extra careful about making sure that their sampling was correct. There's something called inclusion criteria. Who are you going to include in that number? And exclusion criteria. So they wanted to make sure, they wanted to be very conservative in how they came up with the results.
To reduce bias.
To reduce the bias and confounding and other things. So they did a lot of extra steps that you would not necessarily, or what you should do, but not necessarily is always done on the statistical part of it, but also in the design of the study. So 590,000 tests, and they did a global sample. So, and they discounted countries that had fewer than 1,000 samples, things like that. So they really were robust samples from countries that had robust numbers. And the fact that they came up with the ratios, the omega-6 to 3 ratios that they did, absolutely define the global deficiency in omega-3s. And that's something I've been working on for 20 years. How do we address that? So I looked at it as like, this is just more ammunition for me as a clinician, as a researcher, as somebody who set out 20 years ago to change the world. And I think that this study, like the suicide study that I did, I'll just touch on that for half a second. We showed several hundred suicides in the active duty military, and we showed there was a 62% increased risk with with low omega-3 levels. 62% increased risk of suicide with low omega-3 levels.
Wow.
And now we've got a study in almost 600,000 people that show how deficient globally we are in omega-3s. Put those two and two together, and you've got some serious issues. We need to change the world. And that's the mission I set out on 20 years ago. And so I'm looking for people to help me change the world, because I can't do it alone. It takes a team. And the team that I found, Zinzino, has really been the team that all of a sudden I found the team that wants to change the world, just like I've been trying for 20 years.
Thank you, Dr. Lewis, for your service and for your dedication to changing the world. If you'd like to join Zinzino, please get back to the person that shared this video with you. My name is Stuart Tomc. Thank you for joining us.